Okay, this is take 5 on my question of atheism versus religion. And first off, I'd like to say atheism is not a religion. But telling people they're an idiot for thinking atheism is a religion is completely unhelpful. And telling people that they're wrong in thinking that atheism is a religion is usually very ineffective. Letting people figure out, showing them that atheism is not a religion. And it should be a pretty easy thing to show people. But showing them and letting them figure it out is probably the more effective way, but there's a lot of people who just plain are not going to accept that atheism is not a religion, and nothing we do or say is going to convince them otherwise. Even showing them, even asking them to explain how atheism is a religion, they're just going to come up with some crazy nonsense. But this is a very small percentage. This is a percentage of fundamentalists and just radicalized and just, angry, or just, these are people looking for a fight. And most people are not like that. In fact, most religious people want the same thing that atheists do. They want to have a peaceful world, and that's certainly what I want to have. And what makes a peaceful world? Well, when everyone is working towards a common goal. And another thing I hear a lot is the atheist agenda, what atheists are trying to do. A lot of people think we're trying to indoctrinate, and you can't indoctrinate in atheism other than education. But people accuse atheists of trying to ruin religion or take religion out of everything. And we're not. Like, you've got churches, lots of places for religion right there. We want them out of the church, out of the government, out of schools, out of business. And a lot of religious people would like that too. But they don't say anything. One, because most of the time, especially when they're, the same religion, they understand, that what's being expressed in schools, they kind of agree with. So while they may not agree that it should be taught in school, they agree with what the teachings are, so they're not really motivated to say anything. And that's kind of what I want to do. Atheists get a bad rap because we are motivated. We are motivated to reduce the influence of religion on state-run programs. And we don't want religion there. It's not supposed to be there. This country was not built on religion. It was built on being secular, to separate these things. And we don't want religion in these state-run programs. But rather than butting heads, rather than fighting, rather than trying to convince the religious that atheism is not a religion, we should be inviting the religious people to join this fight. You want your religious freedom in church? Well, help us to take it out of government. Help us take it out of church. Instead of fighting with religious people, atheists should find ways of working with religious people. Because people who believe in Jesus, they have reasons for believing in Jesus that we may not understand. I've heard several preachers talk about very rational things and really thinking things through. And really, they have a good grasp on reality. And yet they still believe in Jesus. And I can't understand why they still believe in Jesus, but they do. But other than that, they're pretty rational people. And they realize that, it's having religion in government is not helpful. Teaching creation in school is not helpful. They realize these things, and they agree that they should not be there. But being that that's their religion typically is backing up those efforts, one, they don't feel motivated to fight against it, and two, they're semi-afraid of fighting against it because it puts the spotlight on them, and it's an unwanted spotlight. Most people don't want to be associated with being atheist because it's a spotlight that is not a beneficial spotlight. So that's one of the reasons why I attempt to work on making atheism a more comfortable, more friendly perceived state of being, or whatever you want to call it. Because atheism is only one thing. It's we don't accept the claim of a God. That's it. That's the only thing that makes us an atheist. And it's not very complicated, and it's not a religion. But because we don't think that there is a God, we don't want the influence of the belief that there is a God to influence things like education and government. I mean, things like "In God We Trust" written on our money was added there during the Cold War as a way of, I don't know, fighting against the godliness or godlessness of the Soviet Union. It was basically a token effort to symbolize something that has just, we've outgrown a long, long time ago. And we need to get over it. We need to get rid of "In God We Trust." Because not all of us trust God. Not all of us think there is a God to trust. So it shouldn't be there. Government should symbolize for all people. And having things like "In God We Trust" doesn't represent a great many people. And it shouldn't be there. And that's really all we're doing. We just want to have government and schools represent all people equally, fairly, justly. And that's what we're trying to do. And atheists and the religious can work together to make this a more secular nation. Because being secular doesn't mean you're an atheist. Being secular means you see a need for separation of church and state. That's really all it means. So anyhow, that is Take 5. I'm Tom, your friendly neighborhood atheist. And what are your suggestions on working with the religious on finding ways to separate church and state? Because it helps us all. And that's really what we all want. Something that helps us all. Yes? So anyways, catch you next time.